Gregor Samsa is a traveling salesman. He's the breadwinner of his family, which consists of Samsa's father, mother, and sister. Samsa is trapped in his position of being the main provider for his family while also doing hard work with his occupation. Good lord, he thought. What an exhausting profession I've chosen. Day in, day out on the road. Work like this is far more unsettling than business conducted at home. And then I have the agony of traveling itself to contend with. Samsa's life consists of waking up early, eating breakfast, and working. One day, this changes in the most abstract way when Gregor Samsa becomes a disgusting bug upon waking up one morning. Hello, my name is Noah. I like to talk about the books I read. Today we're going to be looking at Franz Kafka's The Metamorphosis. One of Kafka's best-known works, if it isn't his best. Kafka's novel, published in 1915, is a short and strange piece of literature that has become a staple as a classic. Kafka himself was inspired to write Metamorphosis after being in a very similar position to the main character of his book, just minus the becoming a bug part. Kafka, too, was once trapped under family obligations and the necessity of working a continuous job. After some time, Kafka began to feel alienated and dehumanized, which very easily play in as themes in Metamorphosis. Kafka himself had suffered from anxiety and insomnia, and themes of physical deterioration as well as mental health are very present within Metamorphosis. The very simple summary of Metamorphosis is that a working man wakes up one morning to find that he has become a bug. Kafka never actually described the bug clearly and told his publisher not to illustrate the creature as to make it ambiguous. As soon as Samsa wakes up and notices that he has now overnight become a repulsive insect, he thinks it might have been a dream. Soon, he realizes that he's going to be late for work, but Samsa can't get out of bed. He struggles tirelessly to get out of bed, but it's of no use until eventually, within short time, Samsa's chief clerk visits him to scold him for being late, and upon Samsa finally being able to open the door, he becomes horrified to see that Samsa is nowhere in sight, yet in his place lies a massive beetle-like insect. When Samsa's mother sees him, she faints, and Samsa's father, bewildered, drives Samsa back into his room with a cane and a newspaper. Now Gregor Samsa fully realizes that his newfound existence as a bug is certainly not a dream. Samsa begins to find that he no longer craves human food, and Greta, Samsa's sister, brings him rotten food instead, which Samsa enjoys. The family, now having to cope with what's going on, begins to remove furniture from Samsa's room so that he has space to crawl in, but this pains Samsa deeply, as the furniture that reminded him of his humanity and personality are now gone. At a point when Samsa's mother finally sees her one son crawling on a wall, she faints again, and Samsa's father begins hurling apples at him, severely injuring him in the back, leaving him with a painful wound that will last throughout the entire novel. With Samsa's usefulness as the provider of the household now gone, the family finds themselves in dire straits and in need of income. All members of the family now pick up jobs, with Samsa's father returning to his occupation as a bank messenger, his mother takes on sewing, and Samsa's sister Greta becomes a salesgirl. The family even begins renting out a room to lodgers as a means of bringing in extra money. At this point, the only person in the family who genuinely shows any care or love for Samsa is his sister, as she would be the only one to feed him and clean his room. One day, Gregor hears Greta's violin playing, and he is deeply moved. The lodgers, who have rented out a room with Samsa's family, show no appreciation for Greta's playing, and Samsa grows upset, feeling that Greta's music is beautiful. After Samsa manages to get out of his room and into the living room, the lodgers grow horrified and run away. It is within this time that the worst moment for Samsa is finally cemented, when Greta announces to her family that the bug has taken place of her former brother is not actually her brother, and she tells the family that, "We must get rid of it." This moment serves as the breaking point of any hope that Samsa could possibly have, as his entire family resents him as a disgusting burden. Samsa, completely and utterly hopeless, begins to starve himself and refuses to move. When the cleaning lady finds the bug dead after poking it with a broom, she tells it to the family, whom instead of being grieved over the death of their loved one, is relieved to finally be free of the burden. That same day, the family takes a tram ride to the countryside, and at the very end of the novel, the parents see that their daughter Greta has developed into a beautiful young girl, and they seek to find her a suitable husband. The ending seems rather optimistic, as the family finally seeks a new life, but underneath that sense of optimism lies a deeply disturbing truth about isolation, alienation, and family and societal pressure. The start of the novel presents us with a useful son and a brother, that being the main source of income for Samsa's family. He felt a great pride that he had been able to provide such a life in a beautiful apartment for his parents and sister. By the end of the novel, Samsa ceases to resemble anything human at all, and was seen as a heavy burden on the financially struggling family. A pervasive theme throughout Metamorphosis is the complete lack of response Samsa's family has to his emotional needs, which are still within him, yet nobody recognizes them due to his new and unpleasant existence. Samsa seeks validation and love from his family, and yet he receives none, and dies a sad and miserable death. These feelings can be present in anyone, without them needing to turn into a bug. The demands of work and family pressure can make people seem and feel less like humans, and more like a tool. Pairing with this depression, anxiety, and isolation can easily make people feel alienated. That was what Kafka was going for with Metamorphosis. And with his work being completed, he leaves a haunting impression on the rest of the world. Metamorphosis, despite its premise being as absurd as it is, functions like a warning. People need to be people, with family and friendship and connection. The lack of these things can lead to horrible results in the real world, of people turning to nihilistic views of violence or thoughts that are contrary to one's well-being. With the rapid advancements in digital technology and media, people are very quickly becoming lonely, as the engagement from others online does not substitute for real-life connection. People spend less time outside and with other people and end up feeling isolated and alone. It is also important to mention that Metamorphosis could also be seen as a critique of capitalism. Many socialists, throughout history, have seen capitalism as a system which demeans people and their humanity. Samsa's family views him as a means of survival, and they are dependent on the money that he brings home from work. Kafka wasn't explicitly a socialist, but his works like Metamorphosis can be seen as having a socialist leaning. It is also important to note that Kafka's own family can easily be an inspiration for Kafka in writing Metamorphosis. Kafka's father expected him to become much like himself, a higher upper-class businessman. Kafka failed in pleasing his father in this way, and this led to a young Kafka being seen as a disappointment to his family, leading him to feel isolated and alone. While Kafka worked his job at an insurance company, he would come home from work and write what we now know as Metamorphosis, one of the few novels that Kafka saw published during his short lifetime. In 1924, Kafka would die after suffering from tuberculosis. During Kafka's lifetime, neither the Metamorphosis nor his other works saw much notoriety. Kafka famously told his friend Max Brod to burn his other works, which Max refused. After Max had compiled Kafka's works, he began to publish them. Soon enough, Kafka's works would be translated to other languages aside from German. Within time, Franz Kafka would become a household name. The Metamorphosis now serves as Kafka's most well-known novel. I personally enjoyed reading The Metamorphosis, as its bizarre premise succeeds perfectly in showing the effects of isolation and family neglect. I would recommend that anyone reads The Metamorphosis, as the novel is very short, yet it does a phenomenal job at delivering its message.